So that was a 30-degree angle. Now let's create let's see the rotation of 45 degrees. All right. So if that is my 45-degree angle, again, I draw the little line straight down to form my right triangle. And again, I get another coordinate point. Well, the opposite side from this 45-degree angle down here, down here, would be my y value, right? It's telling me how far off the x-axis to go, which, as we found out, that side length should be 2 radical 2. The adjacent side is telling me how far to travel along the x-axis before we go up, and that adjacent side, as we found out before, was radical 2 over 2. So then, if we keep rotating, the next one we should come across is the 60-degree angle. So if I draw that triangle in, right, again, I always draw my line straight down to the x-axis. And now I'm talking about this 60-degree angle of rotation. Well, to figure out that opposite side, well, that's opposite the 60-degree angle. And as we found out before, opposite the 60-degree means that we have a radical 3 over 2 as the y value, because that's telling me how far off the x-axis to go from this point all the way up top. And if I'm talking about the x-axis, the x value, I'm talking about going from the center of the circle all the way to the edge over here, which means that we're talking about the adjacent side, so that's the 1/2. So that, in a nutshell, is the unit circle. Zoom out for effect. Nice. And that's what we know for the reference angles of the first quadrant. So the reason why this is super important is because if that's what we can do in the first quadrant, then understanding how to use reference angles can help me figure out the second quadrant, the third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. So let's talk about the other angles, right? So if I have a angle in the second quadrant who has a reference angle of 60, then what angle would that be? All right. So if I have another line over here, right, and I'm trying to figure out what the actual angle of rotation is from the initial side all the way to this side. Oops, gotta undo that. Trying to go from this side all the way over here. What that angle of rotation actually is, we'll recall from the last video, if I want to get the angle on the second quadrant, well, I know that down here, I'm 60 degrees off the x-axis. So since this overall from 1, 0 to -1, 0 is 180 degrees, then the reference angle would be 60 and then 120. And then I can use that to get the other one somewhere over here and the other one somewhere over here by using the same rules. So keeping in mind the sine, cosine, tangent rules and using the coordinate points, you can bid out your unit circle.